In today's episode of Better Data, Better Results, we are still continuing with our focus on industrial chemical management, but we want to focus on the chemical service provider, specifically around their ability to improve chemical delivery efficiency. Chemical service providers who provide comprehensive chemical management programs for industrial producers and manufacturers often manage distributed inventories, delivering various chemistries to remote customer locations. Deliveries can be expensive and time-consuming, and they put drivers at risk of safety incidents. So, chemical service providers need a way to maximize efficiency. While there is no one-size-fits-all solution, in general, chemical service providers want to deliver chemicals into distributed injection tanks only when those tanks are nearing empty, while still avoiding tanks running completely empty, which puts industrial assets at risk. And when they do deliver chemicals into those tanks, they want to fill them nearly as full as possible. By maximizing the time between deliveries while maintaining effective treatment, chemical service providers can significantly reduce their costs of doing business. Unfortunately, most chemical service providers struggle to maintain efficient delivery schedules. We've determined that, on average, deliveries occur when tanks are only 60% empty, and they are only filled to about 75% capacity. But with data and a commitment to better operational practices, we think chemical service providers could cut delivery schedules in half. Let's see how we can use the WellAware on-demand chemical platform to identify chemical delivery inefficiencies and improve schedules to reduce costs. All right, so we're looking at the WellAware on-demand chemical web platform, and this is a chart view of the product volume at this Mahomes site. And what we can see is this cycle of empty and fill, which is typical of a chemical tank that's injecting chemical and then being refilled through deliveries by a chemical service provider. Now, if we chart the percent full of this tank, we'll notice something. This is a 500-gallon tank, and what we can see is that it's being refilled at about every 300 gallons, and it's only being refilled to about 400 gallons full. So the problem is, on average, we're delivering when the tank is still 60% full, and then we're only delivering to 77, 80% full. So basically, we're only delivering 20% of the capacity of this tank at a time, which is extremely inefficient. And if we look at this, we can obviously see that there's room to wiggle. We could potentially cut this delivery schedule in half by extending this product volume down over the course of the next period of time. We'd actually still be able to potentially cut 2 deliveries in this particular case. So this is the opportunity to improve delivery efficiency for the chemical service providers by extending time between deliveries and still avoid empty tanks. Some of the ways that we've helped chemical service providers do this is by creating a few reports and data visualizations that help them see where they're being inefficient and then prioritize the deliveries that need to be made. So let's jump into our dashboards and reports section to see more about that. So we have a couple of reports that are helpful here. The first is a delivery efficiency matrix, which I'll explain in a little bit, and the second is an estimated days to empty report. First, let's jump into the delivery efficiency matrix. So what this is going to allow me to do is analyze the delivery efficiency for various site groups over a period of time. So for this case, let's look at the third quarter of 2020. So from July 1st to October 1st, and then I get to select the various site groups. So I'll resize this window, and I can select the site groups that I want to add to this analysis. So I'll go ahead and select all and click OK. And what I'm seeing here is a chart where I'm plotting the empty tank rate on the y-axis versus the level before delivery on the x-axis. And generally what this means is I want my sites to be in the bottom left-hand corner, which means I'm being efficient with my deliveries and only filling them when they're near empty, but I'm also not letting my tanks run empty. So I can see that I've got a problem here with this NFC East site where I'm at about 7.5% empty tank rate, but I'm still on average only delivering at 60% full. So this is a problem site group. I can see that my all sites, my average is around 2.5, 3% empty tank rate, delivering at around 37% full. So the sites down and to the left of this all sites group are doing better than average. So what I would want to do is target for improvement all of the sites here that are up and to the right of that all sites group. So that would be my NFC site group and then a couple of NFC groups. I've got the AFC site group as well, and then this NFC East site group that I would really want to target. So how can I do this? Let's look at the estimated days to empty report to see how. So I'll click out of this report and I'll go to the estimated days to empty report. Now this is a very similar report, but what it's going to show me is on a snapshot in time how many days I have till empty, plus a little bit more data for all the various sites. And in this case, I'm going to look at all the site groups again. I'll click OK. And here's what I see. Now what this is a report that's showing me the chemical that's in a particular tank at each site, the size of the tank at that location, the current volume and the current observed usage rate, and then from there we can derive an estimated days to empty and project the date that the tank will run empty. And what we do here is we highlight in red or yellow, depending on the severity, any tanks which are nearing empty. So what we can see here is that this Rogers site is going to be empty in 4 days. So that's something we need to prioritize getting a delivery out to. The Prescott site is going to run empty in less than 2 weeks, so that's something we would need to get on the schedule. And then beyond that, we have some time to work with on the remainder of the sites. The nice thing about this report is we can export it, we can filter it in Excel, we can identify only sites that have a certain chemical or a certain tank size, and we can start to group sites together based on necessary delivery routes. The other thing that's nice about this report is we can automate it to be delivered to us every morning so that we constantly have a refreshed view of which sites have a certain amount of chemical, are using that chemical at a particular rate, and then when they're going to run empty. So this can inform our daily operations to make sure we're not missing any deliveries. And finally, what's really powerful is the ability to use the WellAware API. So why is the WellAware API so special? Well, it offers our chemical service providers the ability to import this kind of data into their inventory management systems. We have customers who integrate this with systems like SAP, for example, that allow them to track usage, manage their distributed inventory, and use that to actually drive efficiencies in upstream supply chain processes. That is where this data becomes exceptionally valuable, is not just keeping it in the WellAware platform, but getting it into existing tools that are already in use. And that is how you use WellAware On-Demand Chemical to get better data and better results.